Namaste. I'm Angela, and today we're going to be working on a few heart opening postures and breaking down some of these backward extensions. So we're going to start in probably one of the most common heart openers, Bhujangasana or Cobra Pose, just to get this action down in our body, and then we'll kind of progress that through several more heart opening postures. So we'll start our Cobra posture on our belly. So bringing ourselves down onto the belly. And as we come down to the belly, we'll bring our hands here underneath our shoulders. The thumbs come in line with the sides of the chest. The legs are extended behind us and the tops of the feet press down towards the ground, spreading through the toes and making that firm connection between the tops of the feet and the earth. The elbows hug in towards the sides of our body. So there's a tendency for the elbows to kind of want to flail out towards the sides. So really hugging them in towards the side body, dropping the shoulders onto the upper back here. And then as we inhale, a moment to start to draw our chest forward, up, and back. For this first one, we're coming into a low variation of cobra, oftentimes referred to as baby cobra. So with our baby cobra, we can actually lift the hands from the earth here, and we'll stay in the same position. So although the hands are gripping and down towards the earth, there's not any action kind of coming through those arms aside from the hugging in of the elbows towards the side body. And this is a great posture for anyone who, again, is limited in their range of motion in the spine, something that is accessible to most. And then as we exhale, we can soften the front body down. We're going to move that a little bit higher now. So again, keeping all those things considered. Tops of the feet pressing down, kneecaps lifting into the thighs, pelvic bone pressing down towards the earth, elbows hugging towards the sides of the body, shoulders drawing onto the upper back. The in-breath draws our chest forward, up and back, and we'll press a little bit into our hands here, peeling the torso slightly from the earth. And this is our full Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. So notice how the shoulders are drawing back. The collarbone is lengthening forward, shining forward. So we want to make sure that all of those things stay in that same open position here. Elbows hugging in, one more deep in-breath. And then as we exhale, we can soften our front body back down towards the earth. We're going to move this into what's called Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, or upward facing dog, where there's a little bit of a difference between our cobra and our upward facing dog. And oftentimes, cobra and upward facing dog are utilized interchangeably. So I always offer them as options in practice, not kind of convincing anyone to choose either or, but allowing them to choose what is right for them and their body in the present. So for upward facing dog, I'm bringing my hands back a little bit closer towards the line of my ribs. Again, the elbows hug towards the sides of the body. The tops of the feet are pressing down towards the earth. We want to grip through the fingertips as we curl the chest forward, up and back, and then press into the palms and the tops of the feet so that the only points of contact with the earth are the hands and the tops of the feet. Grip through the fingertips, draw the chest forward, and the shoulders draw onto the upper back. And that's our upward facing dog. Breathing in and breathing out. One more deep in-breath. And as we exhale, we'll bend our elbows as we slowly lower back down towards the earth. A moment to pause. All right, and then since we're down here in this position, we'll practice a few more heart openers from the earth itself. So the first one that we'll practice is called Shalabhasana, or locust pose. We'll bring the hands alongside the edges of the body with the palms facing up. Again, the in-breath lifts our head, our neck, our chest, draws our shoulders onto the upper back, and we can lift our hands, extending the fingers behind us. We can always stay right here for this half variation of locust pose, or we can start to lift the tops of the feet, the shins, the knees, the thighs. Root the pelvic bone down Again, shoulders draw onto the upper back. We lengthen through the crown of the head, creating space along the cervical spine. The toes can be pointed behind us, flointed or flexed behind us, just making sure that we're extending that energy through the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, and the crown of the head. One more deep in-breath here. And then as we exhale, a nice counter pose is what's called crocodile pose. So we can stack the palms in front of the face. Bring one cheek to rest at the top of the hands, our big toes to touch, and our heels to fall, open towards the sides. So always giving yourself ample time in between postures here to really integrate the practice. The next heart opener we'll practice is, again, a posture that we can access from the earth here. This is a posture called Dhanurasana, or bow pose. So for our bow pose, we'll send our heels towards our sit bones. Our hands come back to grab hold of the tops of the feet or the ankles. The in-breath lifts our head, our neck, our chest, shoulders onto the upper back, long through the back of the neck. And then we start to kick the feet or ankles into the hands so that the thighs lift slightly from the earth. We're hugging the inner legs towards each other. Moment here, breathing in and breathing out, active through the feet. Inhaling and exhaling. One more deep in-breath in. And as we exhale, again, slowly lowering down, maybe another crocodile pose as a little counter posture here, stacking the palms, bringing the opposite cheek to rest at the top of our hands, big toes touching and heels falling open towards the sides. I'm going to press myself back into tabletop position here as we move through our next heart opening posture. So the next heart opening posture that we'll practice is called Ustrasana, or camel posture. So for our camel posture, we lift up to standing on our knees. Our knees are about hips width distance apart, and the toes extend behind us. Now, if we feel somewhat limited in our heart opening, in our backward extension, we can always tuck our toes behind us. That's going to give us a little more lift in the heels and a little more access to that part of the body when we want to bring our hands back towards that part of the body. I'm going to let the tops of my feet land, and I'll bring my hands to my low back. The fingertips can point down, or the fingertips can point up, whichever one of those feels right in your body. The elbows hug towards one another. The shoulders draw onto the upper back. The in-breath generates length here from those points of contact with the earth upward. Navel draws back towards the spine. And then as we exhale, we start to peel the heart open towards the sky, keeping that beautiful long length across the front line of the body. Again, we can stay right here. Some of us might like to maybe bring one hand back to the heel. Maybe both hands come back towards the heels. Again, the hips glide forward, the heart opens, the chest opens, our gaze can reach up, or we can see about releasing the gaze behind us. And then to lift up and out of the posture, we want to lift from the sternum, so from the center of the heart. We lift up and out, crown of the head, the last part of the body to rise all the way up. And we can settle our hips back towards our heels, hands to our knees, and we can come through a little spinal flexion to counter that backward extension, that spinal extension. We'll practice a few more heart openers here. The first ones are going to bring us down onto our back. So we'll come down onto our back slowly and mindfully, all the way down. And the next two postures will oftentimes be practiced in conjunction with one another, or they will be practiced, as substitutes for one another. So the first is called Setu Bandhasana, or bridge pose. So we'll walk the heels in towards our body as our knees point up towards the sky. Ground through the soles of the feet, and first descend our tailbone in the direction of our toes so that we feel the connection between the vertebrae of the spine and the earth. We'll bring our hands alongside the edges of the body with the palms facing down. The in-breath will press us into the soles of the feet as we start to lift through our hips. Now we can stay right here in this variation of our bridge pose, or we can start to guide our shoulders underneath our back. So the shoulders kind of come closer towards one another, creating a little crevice in between our shoulder blades. Again, pressing the soles of the feet down. We can stay there, or some of us might like to interlace our fingers underneath our back and press the outer edges of the hands down into the earth. Again, back of the head presses down, back of the shoulders press down. All points of contact with the earth are actively participating in lifting us up. One more deep in-breath. And as we exhale, we'll unbind. If we bound, we'll widen the shoulders as we slowly articulate the spine down, vertebrae by vertebrae, and pause. We'll move right into our final heart opener of this tutorial. This is called Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow, but a lot of times it's referred to as wheel pose in our yoga practice. So we'll walk our heels in towards our sit bones, and then we bring our hands underneath our shoulders. Fingertips point in towards the body, elbows point up towards the sky. Again, first descending the tailbone towards the heels, making that nice connection between the vertebrae of the low back and the earth. And then we'll press into the soles of the feet, start to lift through our hips. Maybe we stay right there, or we can press into the palms and bring the crown of the head down towards the earth. Again, we can stay there or press into the legs and press into the palms, lifting the crown of the head from the earth. Active in the legs, active in the arms, active in the glutes and the core. Stay there for a few breaths. And then to lower out of the posture, we want to keep the neck safe by tucking the chin towards the chest, bending the elbows, and slowly lowering down, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way down to the earth. I'm going to hug my knees in here for just a moment, and then I'll rock myself up through sitting. Finding myself in this easy seated posture, Sukhasana. After we practice a series of heart-opening postures, we always want to neutralize the spine by bringing ourselves into a spinal twist. This can be done on our backs, on our seat, or standing. I'm just going to do a brief one from here. So inhale, arms reach high. And as we exhale, right hand, left knee, left arm behind us as we draw that left shoulder back and gaze over the back shoulder. And then we inhale through center, and we can exhale, twist to the second side. And then we inhale back through center, and we can bring our hands to our heart. And we always end our back bending practice with that twist and then a counter posture. So the counter posture to a backward extension would be a forward fold. So I'll let my hands come forward of the shins, and I'll simply bow out over my legs, releasing through the head and the back of the neck. And there's always a multitude of different forward folds that you're welcome to put into your sequence here for that counter posture. I'll walk my hands back in towards the body and to prayer at the center of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me in this heart-opening tutorial today. Namaste.